Welcome to Green Ball Extra. I'm Craig Easdown, and with the Test Triangle Inter-Provincial Series approaching fast and the squads now named, we're going to have a chat to the four head coaches of the squads. And today it's the turn of Munster Reds head coach, Ted Williamson. Ted, welcome.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we get into the Munster Reds in your current role, we might just start with yourself, if that's all right. So you were capped for Ireland in 1998 against the MCC. And I read you're a left-hand opening batsman, a right-arm medium pacer, and a, quote, extremely capable wicketkeeper. So you obviously enjoyed all facets of the game.
Well, either that or I paid somebody very good money to write that stuff about me, Craig. No, look, I was one of these people when I was growing up that I wanted to try everything. I even threw my hand at an off-spin as well. And I was just inquisitive, really, as a kid when I was growing up. I wanted to try a few different things, and probably actually a regret of mine that I didn't push the bowling a bit more. There was never any much pace there, but it was a little bit accurate. I reckon I could have been a better bowler, if you know what I mean. Ended up being a bit of a net bowler, but yeah, I was always just inquisitive about all the different facets of the game. I wanted to try different things, I suppose. So that's where that came from.
And I read a quote, you had a golden arm quality about you with your bowling. Is that true?
I would describe it as filth. I think that's what they describe it as these days, is these things that are lobbed down, that are accurate, that the batters kind of get so confused as to where to hit it that you end up getting a wicket. But no, as I said, look, I'm probably doing myself a little bit of an injustice. I was probably an accurate enough medium pacer that could do a bit of damage. But no, I was happy to be involved. Like I'd freely admit, if I was in the field, I'd maybe get a little bit bored. So being involved, whether it be keeping or whether it's bowling, I was just happy to be involved in the game. You know, I'm still playing a bit down here with Harlequins, and funnily enough, I'm still doing a bit of keeping, which might seem a bit mad, but the two things that I don't like in the world are smoked salmon and running. And as a keeper, you get yes, you've got to do a bit of squatting and all that, but you don't have to do a whole lot of running, which suits me down to the ground, to be honest. So, no, but I was just happy to be involved in the game, and being a keeper or a bowler just gave it that opportunity, I suppose.
And not only is playing in your veins, but obviously coaching is important too. You've been a long-term club coach. You were head coach of the Leinster Lightning for 2 years, winning back-to-back treble trophy seasons in 15-16. Now you're the Munster Reds head coach. So what got you into coaching?
I think it was kind of by default, really, Craig, because I suppose it started really when I was with Cork County and when I was captain, because there was no coaches back then, really, especially for there was coaches for kids maybe, but not for adult teams. So you ended up as captain running the sessions by default, if you like. And I think that's where it started, if I'm being honest, because I was always quite happy to take fielding sessions at training sessions, or organise a net manager, if you want to call it that. So I think that's kind of where it started, really. And then when I came to Dublin in 1990, I remember doing my level 1 with Brian Kelleher. And I just kind of carrying on, I knew there'd be opportunities to do a little bit of coaching up in Dublin when I moved up, so I got the level 1 done pretty quickly. And then when I moved back to Cork then in 2000, there was a lot of coaching that needed to be done. And then I kind of went in and done level 2 and level 3, and then just kind of things went from there, really. But I think it was by default where it started originally, Craig, because as I said, there was no coaches as such, so somebody had to run it, and I'm kind of happy to stick my hand up.
You've made a good fist of it ever since. With that experience, though, I mean, what to your mind makes a good coach?
I think you need to have a passion for it, and I really do believe that. I think if you've got a passion for it, then you'll always be inquisitive about learning and improving. And I think that's the first thing, that there needs to be a bit of a passion there. Secondly, I think you have to know yourself. When I started coaching when I was a player, I worked very hard. And when I started my coaching career, first of all, I didn't understand when other players didn't work hard. They kind of threw me a bit, because that was the way I operated as a player. Therefore, I thought as a coach the same thing should apply to all the players that I was working with. So I probably didn't understand myself enough back then, and didn't understand then how to look at different players with different lenses on. So when I say knowing yourself, like, you know, what your strengths are as a coach, what you need to develop as a coach, and not being too afraid to ask for help as well, because I think there's plenty of coaches out there, and we need to keep sharing information. So knowing yourself, knowing, I mean, I would be very honest and say when I started coaching at a decent level, first of all, I wasn't happy to be coaching bowling because I didn't know enough about it. I wasn't confident enough about it. So therefore, I always reverted to batting, some fielding, and a little bit of wicket keeping. Whereas now I'd be a lot more confident, not brilliant by any means, but a lot more confident in coaching all facets of the game, but quite open as well, that if and honest enough and humble enough that if I needed a bit of help or a bit of advice, or you know, something that I didn't have enough knowledge in, I'd pick up the phone or ask someone to come along. So I think, as I said to you, passion, knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, and then also I think not being afraid to dip into all environments. I mean, you know, I coach some tennis as well, and we work with 4 and 5-year-olds. That can be really powerful as a learning experience, you know, as well as doing, then you're talking about, you know, some of the top players in the province and in the country with the Reds and that. So I think experiencing different environments will always round you more, and always evolving your philosophy, I think. I mean, I only adapted mine a little bit now this year again, have it written down, because that's who you are as a coach. So if you're clear on what underpins your work, then surely it has to change over time and evolve.
Right. Oh, very good. And speaking of the province and speaking of Munster, I mean, Munster's got a very proud cricket history, but to many of the newer fans of the game, it's probably the least known of the provincial unions. Is that fair, I guess?
It would be, yeah. And I mean, we kind of go through spurts of where we get a good cohort of players coming through, whether it be at 17s or like we have a good crop of 19s coming through at the moment. When I started to play into pros first back in the 90s, we had quite a good group of seasoned, experienced men that were able to compete. So, but we have our up and downs then as well. But are things moving in the right direction? 100%. We've just put down, until COVID hit, we've just put down our most extensive and detailed winter sessions ever. We've brought on new coaches. We're bringing on new coaches, mentoring new coaches from the widest amount of clubs ever. So there's a lot of really, really good stuff going on at the moment. And obviously with the Reds, you know, we have a certain amount of players in that. The goal is within 3 to 5 years to be a fully homegrown Munster Red side. And I think that would be a sign of things improving across the province and in the country.
And a lot of people don't understand the geographic spread of Munster. I mean, give us a sense of where clubs are far-flung regions of Limerick to...
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got 3-4 clubs in Cork. You've got Cork Harlequins, Cork County, Middleton, UCC. If I miss any clubs here, I'm sorry, but then you'd have a few clubs in Tip. You'd have a couple of clubs in Limerick. You'd have a club in Waterford. You've clubs down in Kerry, and then we have Galway as well that play in Munster. Right. So yeah, there's a good bit of distance involved. And the really interesting thing for me, Craig, is that we've over the years, I've seen it. I mean, back in the day, you'd have 1 or 2 clubs dominating. Now it's a lot tighter with the kind of competitive side of things, and that can only be a good thing for the players playing down here. You know, experiencing tight matches and that. So while it's far flung, you know, there's a lot of travelling involved for the players. It has got an awful lot more competitives in all the divisions. So. Only good things, I think, that are happening on here at the moment.
And speaking of competitive, going to the Munster Reds now. Look, last year was very competitive performances particularly the Pembroke T20. That last ball match against Leinster Lightning, for instance.
Let's not talk about that. Can we talk about something else, please?
But looking forward to 2020, I mean, what do we expect from the Reds this year, and who should we look out for?
I'd even before like that last ball where the Lightning needed 5 to win, they hit a 6 off the last ball was hard to take. especially for the players. But if I go back another 12 months where we actually beat the Lightning, and I think we again wins against the Warriors, I thought we were probably a year or two ahead of ourselves there, if I'm being honest,
Right.
which is great, and it's a testament to the guys that we have involved. Like with the squads that are announced, they're announced at a certain time, and then we get a bit of time to, look at the other players that. And the communication and fairness between the Cricket Ireland coaches and the provincial coaches is brilliant, because we talk about getting guys opportunities, and that's the most important thing. So we've got a really, really good bunch of lads, and it's a real testament to them that there's normally when you get a side that's you have to integrate, there's a little bit of kind of team cohesion stuff that you might have to do with them, or team building, whatever you want to do. These guys just fit in straight away, and it's a testament to them as people. Forget about the players. So I think we have plenty of guys. I could list out names, but I think there's a certain few qualities that they have, is that there's no egos in the dressing room. There's no fear also. I mean, I remember playing my first Inter-Pro matches years and years ago back in the 90s. I was in awe of these guys that I was playing against, the Noel Nelsons, the Alan Nelsons, the Paul McCrums, in awe of them. I was not playing the ball, I was playing the man. This young crop of guys coming up now, there doesn't seem to be that much fear there. So, and there's a great sense of team, as I said to you, that they create on their own. There's no... as I said, we don't have that long winter amount of sessions together. So I think it's building on last year. Last year there was a couple of decent performances, and I think it's such a great game. T20, it's such a leveler. I mean, like, you could have a firm favourite in a certain game, and then the underdogs come out on top because of the format. So I think that's a great thing about the game, that format that we are playing. It's very exciting. We have a couple of new guys coming into our squad this year. But again, it won't be a massive issue integrating them in, because they're just good blokes, and that's what we're looking for first and foremost down here. So looking for, if you were to ask me to put a number on it, I couldn't, as in where we want to be, but just seeing the guys improve. We have to play slightly differently than maybe some of the other provinces with the skill sets that we have, i.e. we don't have massive amount of power in there, maybe as some of the other provinces, so we have to maybe play it a little bit differently, but it seems to be working, if I put it that way, because we're competing, and as I said to you 2 years ago, winning a couple of matches. So really excited, can't wait to get going.
One aspect that may be in your favour this year is 2 games being played at the Mardyke this year. You must be pleased to see top-class domestic cricket return to the ground.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's certain things that the home venue have in our favour, but I'm mostly happy for the people of Cork and Munster. I mean, just for them to get these quality cricketers coming down, guys that they see in the telly and rarely see live, to get them, on the ground at the Mardyke. And they, in fairness to the guys in Cork County, they always put on a good show there, off the pitch and on the pitch. So infrastructure is there. The wickets are superb. The ground is superb. We trained down there last week. Actually, Matt Reid, the groundsman, had us on grass, which is like gold dust for us. So, as I said to you, the people of Cork and the people of Munster, they're hugely passionate about the game, and to get them some proper cricket back down there again is going to be really, really brilliant.
Fantastic. Can't wait to be there myself. And finally, to finish off, it's a question I'm going to ask each of the head coaches. If you could have a former Irish cricketer from another generation playing in their prime in your current Munster Reds team, who would you choose and why?
Good question. I'm going to go for Pat Deneen.
Okay.
And I suppose, having known the guy and played with him, actually, just his cricket smarts would be something that I think would be powerful, even in the modern era. Pat had 25 caps for Ireland or whatever it was, but with all due respect to him, limited in he was like an Alan Border, really. Alan Border had 11,000 test runs with 4 shots.
Yes.
Pat was quite similar, in like, he wasn't blessed with every single shot in the book, but by God did he know his game inside out. And I remember one game particularly, it was an All-Ireland Cup match. I think I was probably maybe around 19, 20 at the time. Pat hadn't played in probably 4 or 5 years, and I don't know how it came about, but he came back. He was probably I could be wrong in this and don't hold me to it, but early 50s. And he was playing against a young CY side down the Mardyke. And two things stood out for me. Firstly, he top scored and actually got man of the match, like having literally not played for a number of years. But secondly, I was, as I said to you, dabbling in off spin at the time, and I came on and I bowled a couple of off spin balls, and then I chucked in this quicker one that had no disguise in it whatsoever. Any decent batter would pick it a mile off, but the wicket was a little bit tacky. And he came up to me and he said, see that last ball you bowled? Yeah, just bowl that. Forget about the off spin. And I ended up bowling 10 overs, 2 for 30 or something. And the smartness of him to spot something, that kind of stuff. There was another time as well where I was batting with him, and I can't remember who we were playing, and I'd hit a couple of fours off the first couple of balls of the over. He comes down to me and said, "Stop hitting boundaries." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He says, "Well, the captain will take him off." So that's the kind of mentality that you're thinking of. I think he would have been a great guy to have back, even having that kind of smarts around the dressing room or in the team would be brilliant.
Fantastic. A great insight from a great experience there.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for that, Ted. That's a quick visit down to Cork today. Appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, Craig. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to seeing you down. Looking forward to seeing you down in the real capital.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll be there with bells on.
Good.
Right, farewell for now. Hope you enjoyed the show. This has been Green Ball Extra. Thank you very much. See you later.